Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're listening to this. We are recapping this week's episode of Real Housewives of Potomac. And, we had a to be continued. So we're going to pick up right where we left off from the last episode with the women being kicked out.
Yes.
And then I listen, I think Ashley, as much as we love her, sometimes you have to like read the room and leave well enough alone. Going back to the Sprinter van and then asking for them to make a donation, I feel like it was kind of tacky and in poor taste.
I blame that on her crew who were kind of like egging her on a little bit. But listen, if I were Gizele, if I were Ashley, I get that she's trying to back up Gizele and like sensitivity regarding her dad. But I would have turned it into a moment and say, okay, make things right by making your donation now.
Yeah.
You guys are here. You were an hour late, so I need $100 from each of you. Like I would have spun it that way and have them stay. I thought like Jizzy, I get you're mad, but the kicking them out was not the move. And I know why Ashley didn't push any further because she didn't want to get on Jizzy's bad side, but that just felt like too much.
She had talked to the women on the phone. They said they were going to get there by 8. She said, okay, as long as you're here by 8. I mean, they're there at 8:02. I feel like I understand why they were frustrated because in their perspective, like we rushed, we left Karen saying early to be here. We tried to be good friends and support two people who had things basically at the same time. If it was such a big deal, then Ashley should have just sent them a text saying, hey, you know what? The event is starting at this time, don't bother coming. Or like, I appreciate you guys trying to make both of them work. You're going to be here for such a short amount of time. In lieu of attending, we would greatly appreciate a donation towards, the foundation that we're supporting or something. Like, I feel like she kind of led them on. Like they get there. I mean, they were pulling up essentially to the event right at 8. So like, I can understand why they were a little bit frustrated. And then to go back and ask for money from them, I was like, I could see why it wasn't the friendliest of reception. I don't know if I would have shut the door on her, but it was a funny moment.
It wasn't a full shut the door. The door was just like,
Yeah.
like it was
I mean, it was a
slow.
sliding door. I mean, and I did think it was funny. Then the next day they all meet up and Ashley's trying to be like, my arm's kind of sore. And Jazzy's like, no, it's not. I tested it on myself. Like
Yeah.
you are fine. Uh, I don't, I want to know the timeline exactly. Like it seemed like it was the very next day. Then they're all meeting to discuss how
Yeah, because
upset they were.
Ashley's glam or like her hair and stuff is very similar to the party. So I think you're right.
Yeah, I feel like it was the next day, which I'm like, oh, we could have maybe let things kind of chill a little bit. But I don't understand why Karen was invited to this unless they thought Gizele was going to show up and it'd be a good chance for the two of them to talk. But Karen comes in, she was like activated for no reason. Maybe because the dog made out with her, it pissed her off, even though she wanted to act like she wasn't mad. But her being like, what the fuck is going on? Like when we saw that clip, I thought it was like she walked into people talking about her or people arguing. I mean, yeah, voices were slightly raised. So I was like, Karen, your reaction isn't matching the situation.
I took that as like, I mean, I'm a Dom, so I'm going to find a way to defend Karen at
Yeah.
this moment. I took it as like, I don't know, not so much like something crazy is happening, but what am I missing? Like, what the fuck is
Yeah.
going on? Like that way. But no, you're right. Poor choice of words. However, I do love the Grand Dom's use of shade. Her and Ashley are teeing off, and it's like, Ashley, if you're gonna come for her, she's gonna come for you back a little harder, and she's
Well,
gonna call it
Ashley
revenge.
came pretty hard back at the Grand Dame, though. I don't think she was expecting to go from bunions to you might be in jail.
Yeah, but then she like made her laugh at the same
Yeah.
token, where she was like, I talking about your feet.
Yeah.
You went there, and she's like,
She's like, no, now
what?
you're making me laugh. I do think for Karen, she's gonna have to tread lightly with the shade throwing because it is gonna be such an easy jab at her to talk about the arrest, especially because she is taking no accountability for it. So they know it's like kind of an easy thing to throw back at her. But I did appreciate a random, bunion shade. We don't see
She's
those
like, take
often.
your receipts and use them like you can't use Uber
Yeah.
cards on Groupon. But I appreciated the effort and have them soft those. effing acorns off your feet or whatever she said.
That's pretty good.
Acorns was pretty funny. I enjoyed it.
I do feel like randomly Ashley's bunions come up at least once a season.
I mean, again,
It's
we
gotta
love
be a
her.
painful surgery though. I would imagine like where she has them too. It looks like it'd be painful.
I think it'd be very painful. I think Cynthia Bailey did it.
She did.
And she got paid like it was like a spawn con. She got paid.
Maybe that's what Ashley's waiting for. She's like, I'm just gonna keep talking about these bunions until
I
someone
mean, it would have to
pays
be
me.
spawn con for her, but yeah, I think you're right. It would be really painful.
It's like a bone growth, like no. And feet, I feel like when you injure, like I've broken a toe before, and it's like the most annoying injury because one, you can do nothing for it. It's not like they're gonna cast a toe, so you just have to let it heal. But like if your toes hurt, that's what it's so weird. Like these small appendages support your entire weight. Like if you have a finger that doesn't hurt, like that's hurt, you can just try not to use that hand but like feet are tough. Like if you want to walk. So I get the apprehension. We then pivot and move over to Wendy hanging out with her mom, and her mom is upset with her for not, really cooking, which I do. I don't get it from my mom because my mom was it's not a terrible cook, but my mom hated cooking. However, my grandma used to get so mad that my mom like never taught her daughters how to make pierogies. My grandma was 100% Polish, like off the boat Polish. So I think there's like this, like, I'm sure you like with your mom, there's like a sense of like cooking is the way other people experience your culture. And so then when I think for older generations, when they see there's not an interest in continuing that, they're like, but how are you going to share our culture? Like we are going to die if you don't keep doing this.
No,
so I appreciated that.
I could relate. I think anyone who has an immigrant parent could relate to Wendy's mother talking about the precious yam, this African yam that she's not used, that she brought in, which I'm sure she picked out with joy.
Look like it was in good shape.
I mean, but it looks similar to juca, which is something we use here, but are used in the DR. But another thing that made me laugh was the dogfish. She looked in the freezer. Immediately. No.
I want to know, like, Wendy, that is a large thing in your freezer. Like, you didn't notice that in there?
I think I would have thrown it out and said I used it, but knowing how much it costs, or I would have been like, Mom, can you use it and then pretend to like it and then don't eat it?
I mean, I actually feel like it probably tastes good because I still to this day don't understand the difference between yams and sweet potatoes. You can DM me if you have a very straightforward answer, but I love yams. So, I mean, I would be up for it.
Yeah. But would you eat the dogfish?
Yeah. Why not?
Sure. Why not? Okay.
I am a big believer. I like my parents didn't let us be picky eaters. Like we always had to try something. We were allowed to not like things, but you had to try things. And my dad's rule was always 3 bites because if you're apprehensive about something, you're never going to love the first bite because you're in your head. Second bite, you're trying it a little bit more. And then third bite, like you can really make a judgment call. So I go into anything with a really open mind and I'm always like, I'll give it 3 bites. Like, and if I don't like it, that's okay. But you might surprise yourself.
That is a good mentality. So my mom says I'm picky because of her, because she gave me all the things that she liked, which didn't include like tomatoes, a lot of vegetables. So I didn't eat a lot of vegetables until I was in my 20s, 30s. So you can always evolve and change from being a reformed picky eater. But that's a good mentality. Nowadays, I will try anything at least once.
Yeah, I think it's good. And I like with kids too, I try to like, well, their taste will change. Like one day they like something, they love it. And then like 2 weeks later, like, oh, I hate that. What do you mean? But I always like with my kids though, instead of they're not at an age yet where I do 3 bites. We had Feeding Littles on our podcast, God, like 2.5 years ago. It's one of my favorite episodes from like a non-Bravo perspective. But their suggestion was with a new food or even like a vegetable that the kids like, put one teeny tiny piece of it, like cut like the tiniest sliver of like a carrot. And just say, you just have to eat that one. And if you like it, I can always go get more. But if you don't, then you're done. And I feel like that's like tricked my kids a few times. But
I need to actually implement this. This is all like coming back to me. I need to try and see if I can help my children.
Also, soup season's coming up. If your kids will eat soups or chilies, it's the easiest way. In every chili I make for my kids, I put zucchini and carrots in there because it absorbs the flavor of the chili and they don't even notice. And like that's a good one.
Good hack. Love it.
Well, the more you know. But anyway, so Wendy and her mom start talking and without knowing the full situation with Eddie's family. We do know there's like a strained family dynamic here. They aren't really speaking. They didn't show up to her daughter's blessing during Wendy's first season, which was like really heartbreaking. But his family is making an effort. They would like to reconcile things again without knowing like all the details. Like, there could be some trauma there that I don't know anything about. So I want to be sensitive to it. But I really appreciated Wendy's mom supporting it and saying, like, it's time we heal. It's time we move on. I do think, assuming there's nothing like seriously like traumatic that happened, that it's just like friction and they moved apart. It sometimes is great when families can come back together and heal because kids can see that this happens and it's okay. But it also like you can come back and how you work from that. And I do think most of the time it's in the best interest of the kids to work on that healing. So I appreciated her mom. I was surprised though. Wendy's mom can be very stubborn and opinionated. So I wasn't expecting her to say it's time to move on and heal.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, why not? I mean, I also think too, knowing Wendy, because she's got what, 4 degrees. Let's not forget that she probably told her mom ahead of time.
Yeah.
And said, I'm going to invite them because her 40th party was probably already planned. Let's be real.
Yeah, this wasn't like a last minute, like, hey, maybe we have them come.
No,
like,
I feel like she probably threw her mom a bone there a little bit. So on camera, her real reaction or her initial reaction wasn't shared. And of course, she's going to say like, yes, because it's.
Yeah, but well done.
On her,
Yeah. So then we have Gizele, talking about like everything with the other women and that she's going to get together with them. And that the more she thought about it, she realized she was not upset with the other women. She really was upset at Karen. And I have to admit, I know Gizele is older and a lot of people will be like, well, yeah, of course she wasn't really mad at the other women. They were just the ones that showed up and they were kind of a casualty of this. But for Gizele to recognize this and then later apologize, this is significant growth that we're seeing out of Gizzy.
Yeah, no, I think it's good self-awareness, good accountability. She came to that conclusion, hopefully on her own, or sometimes it takes explaining a situation to someone else who wasn't there to realize like how dumb it is.
Yeah.
So, I wonder even if she's talking to her girls, we know her girls like humble her and she's like, okay, and this is what happened and da, 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 da. And then they showed up and they're probably like, and you made them leave.
Yeah. You were mad at them for trying to support you and make it to both events. Like, yeah, you're right. Like that is true. Sometimes when you try to explain a conflict to somebody not in it, and as you're explaining, you're like, okay, well, actually, I don't know why I'm so mad, but in the moment, it really bothered me. So.
You can sound like an idiot. It's a good exercise in those situations. It's definitely happened to me where you're like, wait, what? Why am I mad? This is so dumb.
I feel like half the time when I'm trying to explain something to you, I'm like, oh wait, no. Except with spouses. I feel like with friends with spouses, like no matter what, I'd be like, you have every right to be mad. I don't know, like it's something, girl code. What did you think? Okay, so we've got Ink and Nia getting ready to host, Jacqueline and Pee. Anyone who has boys would know like the nickname Pee is never like a good idea, but okay. Jacqueline throws a little shade. She knew exactly what she was doing when she sat down in that confessional and said that Ink was then trying to ask her out and she stayed away from the situation. This is not going to go over well with Mia at the reunion.
No. Or, I mean, their relationship is so complicated and so bizarre. Like what wouldn't be okay for most friendships may be okay for theirs.
Well, didn't they like possibly share a partner together?
Yeah. There's like a lot like with Gordon. I don't know. I feel like they've gone through so much that they've been through worse than this. And the fact that she stayed out of it, her hands are clean.
I also feel like one thing we were missing though, like they were not in a good place at the reunion. Do I have selective amnesia? When did we become friends again? Is it just something we missed?
Like they glazed over. You're not wrong in that. It feels like something that they had glazed over a bit. I think part of last season was them coming back together, but I'm like blanking because last season
it was like the trip. Yeah, they had. Well, it feels like we've delayed it. We had a longer lag in between.
Yes.
So there is like that. Like, wait, was that last season or 2 seasons ago?
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to remember, but I was kind of dying. I was like, okay, Ink, and honestly, Ink, and watching him, this is the most that we've seen him. He like surprised me in a good way. Like I think his persona, his social media persona, he just seems like he would be like quiet, I suppose. But he just seemed really engaged in all the conversations.
He's social.
Mia in social, and I guess I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. I think I'm so like jaded by the whole paternity thing. We've shared how like it just gives me the ick. I don't think it's right. I feel so terrible for Jeremiah. This is gonna like his entire life. This is gonna be like hanging around him, and I just think he's too young for that.
Yeah.
And I really did not like Ink implying that that was his child to Jacqueline's parent
PP.
partner. I don't. Yeah, to Pat. Isn't that his name, Patrick?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, but
so.
I
It's
was like,
like,
I don't know. I'm like, I really just feel like there's certain things that we just like in the best interest of this child, we should not be speculating so much on who his dad is. And I don't know, I don't know, I just really, I don't know. I get so triggered by that. And I don't know why. It's not like in my own life, like always knew who
no,
my
but it's
dad was,
a
but
kid. It's a kid, and
yeah,
like this has legs. They'll be
yeah.
able to see it, and it would feel gross to me if like you were hearing your parents discuss your paternity. I don't
Especially when
know.
you're so young. Like, I guess it'd be different if like you're older and your mom's like, well, I never fully knew, but I thought it was G. And then if it was something you're like, well, now I'm in my 30s. I'd like to know who my real dad is or something, like, but he's so young. I don't know. I just have a hard time with it. So
Side
that to me
note,
ruined that scene.
side note, Mia went online. A lot of you guys, she posted a lot,
To
but
be
Mia
honest, it
went on.
hurt my eyes to read it. You guys were not
It
alone. You were struggling.
it wasn't the easiest to read, but the gist of her post had to do with the fact of her relationship with Gordon not being like the healthiest. I mean, I think we're all not shocked. It seemed like a sugar daddy, sugar baby situation. And from Mia's perspective, and again, I'm not quoting everything for her verbatim, but it just sounds like she feels somewhat emotionally abused, like a power situation, stayed. If it just kind of, I don't know, it all feels kind of yucky in the way
Yeah.
she is talking about it.
One thing I didn't like though is she implied she was like, I do get the whole like he was significantly older. She was very impressionable. He like showered her with gifts, but the way she like worded it, it kind of sounded like, and once those gifts stopped because he's like bought too many of them, that changed things for us. I don't know. I'm kind of like, well, yeah, like this when you marry someone for money and it's not an like infinite resource, like I don't
Yeah.
know, like, but I get it, the whole that it's very layered. There's a lot to it. It sounds like she tried to then support them when he started making bad financial decisions, and now is like trying to like almost like use some of the stuff against her, or try to like play the kids
Yeah.
as like it seems like it's very a very ugly
I
split
think it's
and
very
divorce.
nuanced. I mean, she
Yeah.
ended her post, the last two sentences, and I'll read to you guys. It says, I'm tired of protecting a predator, one who pays for sexual favors, who preys on young women and master manipulates them into being his sex slaves. I'm setting myself free, and while I still haven't told all, I guarantee you he will not win this time.
Yeah.
So it's a bit dark. I mean, she's entitled to share obviously her
Yeah.
truth, but I'm with you, Abby. I feel like it's very layered, and what we've seen of their relationship, it's so messy. Like if you think about Mia's time on the show from her first season with Gordon to like her storytelling, like not always matching up and like
Well,
everything,
she was the
like
one with money. She never married him for his
yes,
money. And then
exactly. It's
yeah.
just very layered and nuanced where I'm like, what is the truth?
Yeah. I think that's the hard thing with her is that it's not even that she hasn't been like forthcoming with the truth and withheld. It's like there's been flat out lies. So now it's like hard. It'd be different if she was like, well, I never said that he took advantage of me because I wanted to be mindful of the fact we were still married and we had kids together and all the like I could get that. Like, okay, like you're gonna withhold or maybe massage the truth a little bit, but then to be like, no, I was always the one with money. I had this bank account. And then I don't know. It's hard when the story changes so much. But if he is a predator and like she feels like the way he's treated women in the shower with gifts is like a weird power dynamic, and you feel like you are like essentially like a prisoner of his because of these gifts. And so like, I mean, it sounds like a lot of narcissist abuse too in there. So
Yeah,
it's, I mean, it's sad and
absolutely.
scary. And It
It's
sounds like it's for the best they're splitting.
yeah, and she shouldn't have to cut his hangnails. That whole comment was, like,
Well,
weird to me.
that's
I was
so
like, "You can
weird.
cut your own."
I mean, from some of it, I can get why with certain things, like, honestly, even though it's weird, I get why she might be doing his laundry, given that he has shared he has some mental health issues. So she's like, okay, like if I can do some of these day-to-day tasks for him, it helps him from a mental health perspective. I want him to be the best version of himself for our children. Totally get that. Cutting a hangnail, I don't know. I mean, but again, we don't know. It just
This is like, again, it adds to the whole layering of
it's just
all
a lot of
this.
what the fuck, you know?
That's where Karen should have walked in with the
Yeah.
what the fuck.
Yeah. What the fuck is going on here? I could have gotten behind that one. Like, yeah. Okay, let's talk about our girl Stacey. Uh, First of all, TJ looks a little too much like TJ, like Amy Robach Sitch.
Good,
Did you make
good more. I kinda noticed that as
I was like,
well.
"Ooh." Okay. I'm gonna say this because I wanna know if anyone else picked up on it, and I wanna start by saying, I do not care who someone is attracted to, but the choice of language she used made me wonder if maybe TJ isn't in a place where he's wanting to be with women. She said that he has been intimate with other partners in the past, but he will not have sex with a woman unless it's his wife. So again, I don't care. Do you like whatever? But I wondered if it was like he'll hook up with like men because he doesn't have an interest in marrying men, but he like for women and how many times has he been married? I
I don't
doubt that
know.
every woman he slept with has been his wife. I'm so confused. I think at the end of the day, he does not want to be with Stacey.
Well, also, respectfully, production asked her, "Is he a virgin?"
Right,
He said,
which fair
"No."
question.
But I just wouldn't again, I'm much more spiritual than I am religious, but also I think when you're at that stage of life, like I'm not gonna marry you for us to then go have sex. Like what an antiquated thing, in my opinion. Like I don't know. I'm like, okay, either we're gonna do this or not. Like it just feels like a lot of stipulations. And if that's like the big stipulation, like what other stipulations does he have? Like
Yes,
it's just giving red flag to me. It feels like someone who's like kind of love bombing you in a different kind of way.
but he's not though. He's like saying like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a K, which is 0. I did not make that
I
comparison.
don't get that. But I mean, like, in terms of she's so emotionally vulnerable right now,
Yeah, okay, I can
saying
see
all the
that.
right things, like the divorce, like I think she just wants an emotional connection like that. It's giving me the ick.
She's going through something because then she snapped at Ashley and was like, "I
Yes.
can't believe you just aired that out there." Like and she's like, then in her confessional, she's like, "Ashley's not the person I thought she was." And maybe something was said we didn't see, but at no point in the conversation with Ashley did she say this is a secret. But she was like saying to Ashley, "I have a friend. We're not sleeping together." Also, though, Stacey, you are filming scenes with him and talking about
Exactly.
like the world is seeing it. This is not a secret. You're not like hiding him behind camera like we're seeing on Roni. Like the world knows.
This is where I want fourth wall like breakage on
Yes.
Housewives, like in terms of reformatting. Because if I were Ashley, I would have said that. Like, you told me on camera.
And
Like,
you're filming with him. Like you're
yes.
filming scenes with him.
So
Like
so
what secret am
what?
I revealing? Yeah.
What exactly? That part was a little weird. Stacey is an interesting, entertaining housewife so far. Like a different type of delusion. I don't know if it's like fun Delulu per se,
Yeah,
but
I don't think
I don't know how I feel about her so far.
she might surprise us.
I'm kind of like mid with her.
Yeah, same. I'm not like get rid of her, but I'm not like I don't feel like I do with Bronwyn in Salt
Yeah,
Lake.
I agree. Kierna, I feel like it's like fun this episode that we're seeing more of
Yeah.
her. It's like kind of curious because just like learning more about her. So I'm curious to see where she nets out in all of this because it seems
Yeah.
like they're testing her out to be like a main housewife.
But yeah, they're not sure. I am leaning more towards a yes with her. Like let's give her a chance.
Same, because you can't have
Yeah.
all like big. We say this all the time. Not everyone can be like Karen and Gizele.
Yes. Yeah. Oh,
You
well,
need
we've
like
tried that and it doesn't work. Yeah.
no, no.
So
You need a little balance there and like all the different personality types.
all right. So in the episode, we're getting ready to go to Queen City to celebrate several things, including Wendy's birthday. I am so here for Wendy and Gizele as friends. Like even the conversation they were having, I'm like, wow. It seems like even and Wendy was like, I am so surprised, by some of the things I'm hearing from Gizele. I'm all for new friendships and Housewives. I
I
love it.
stand corrected. Kierna is a housewife.
Oh, I thought she was friend up. Okay, so girl, you need to step it up.
Yeah. So I stand corrected on that. My
Where is
apologies.
she on the outside of the cast photo?
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
But she's in there. So I stand corrected. Just wanted to point that out.
Okay. Well, thank you. We
Mhm.
appreciate that production editor note.
Yeah.
Predictions for this trip, other than it's just going to be
I
chaotic.
mean, I'm ready for T'Challa to fly through. I'm just like, it just feels
Oh God,
very.
Gizele should have hired a bird. That
I
would have been
that
hilarious
would
to
have been
come get
so.
Wendy for her birthday,
Yes, that would have been
or a
so.
bird cake. A bird cake.
That would have been really funny, actually. Just messy. I mean, I do think the Grand Dame is going to see who her real friends are. It's just, again, I'm not dismissing what Karen has done by any means, but it's so wild to see like how this is the focal point of this versus Shannon, like over similar
Yeah.
same crimes. She didn't clip a house, but, and again, I'm not justifying what Karen did by any means, but it's just very fascinating watching how two different franchises approach it and how they're going after her on it.
Do you think it's how Karen's approaching it, or do you think it's like the women were just kind of waiting for a moment to kind of knock her down?
I think it's both. I think they're knocking her down off her pedestal and saying, you're not so perfect. A grand dame behavior wouldn't include this. I'm going to call you out on all of this. Warranted. I also do think Karen has done herself a disservice by like going around in circles versus holding herself accountable and just saying what I did was messed up. I'm working on myself, yada, yada. And it sounds like in this next episode, they're going to dig deeper on that, whether there's alcoholism involved, whatever it may be. So I'm really curious. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm curious why Karen keeps being like, it's a legal matter. I can't. So is she denying that she was driving under the influence? It seems as though she is. Where like Shannon never denied that. So I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I have no idea.
Because like
I don't
Shannon
know.
never said I can't talk about this. It's an ongoing legal matter.
Well, Real Moms of Bravo lawyers, come to
Yeah.
us, please.
And it could be the timing of it. Like when we picked up with Shannon, remember she got her DUI like a day or two after the reunion had wrapped. So like when we pick up with Shannon, she's getting the thing in her car. I think maybe she'd
Yeah.
already worked past the legal system. And so that's some of it. But it does feel a little bit like denial, no accountability versus accountability, even though I don't really know what my relationship is with alcohol, which people have an issue with Shannon. But there's a very different treatment of how Shannon is being treated
It's just
and Karen.
interesting to watch. Not saying
Yeah.
one is right or wrong by any means. It's just
Yeah.
like very interesting to watch two different franchises approach this in two very different ways. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens. I'm still a Dom. Karen, I got you. Send me your next batch of candles. We talked about it. I still got you. You made a
I mean,
mistake.
you guys had a moment for real.
We did have a moment.
Yeah. So there we go. All right. Before we wrap and start begging you guys to like, subscribe, write a review, who is your shout out this week, Vanessa?
Oh God, I'm not even
Do you want me
ready.
to go?
Yeah, go for it. I'm
Okay.
not even
I
mentally
am giving my shout out, even though I wanted Minnesota Lynx to win. I'm giving mine to the New York Liberty, the WNBA champions. It was women's sports is having, rightfully so, like such great attention. There is like record setting attendance for every sport right now. I am here for it. I love it as someone who like sports was just such a part of my life and my identity. But I really loved that in the finals. I mean, we had so many celebrities attending this game, which is what we saw with the Dodgers, versus the Mets. It's like what we see in all the men's sport. And it's really cool that we're seeing it in women's. And so I want to give a shout out to the New York Liberty on their WNBA championship.
Oh my gosh. I want to give mine to Amelia and Andrew Garfield, the chicken shop date heard around the world, for giving us a reason to believe in love. You guys know we're both lovers of love. I'm a little bit more Delulu in it than Abby is, but I just love all the potential false hope they gave us, all the maybe hope they've given us. If you guys haven't seen it, it's 10 minutes, not enough,
Oh,
of
it's
them
like
having a conversation. And if you're not familiar with Amelia, she's a comedian and she takes everyone out on a date. This is like all
male,
always
female. It's like her thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's always been the premise of her show. They go to this chicken shop and eat chicken fingers and are having a chat. But this one feels definitely very different. And if you see all the red carpet interactions, it's just like very
It was like
fun.
watching a real life rom-com. It was adorable. Like I love how he's like, we're vibey. Like it's been vibey. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that they actually are already dating and in a relationship, and that this is like just like a fun little, like, not quite an Easter egg, but just like something that like they did for like the fans and stuff, but they'll never actually admit that they're in a relationship.
Oh, Abby with the conspiracy theory because he just broke up with a girlfriend. He had a
Well, he just
girlfriend.
announced it.
That's what I was going to say. You're correct. He just announced it. We don't know how long they could have been like broken up.
Yeah. And
So
he and Amelia have seen each other on the red carpet for a while, but it's always been like, I wouldn't say it's been flirty, but it's not been like inappropriate. Like I wouldn't like say like, oh, well, he's been cheating on the girl he was dating.
no.
Yeah. But this was
flirty.
I mean, on the heels of Nobody Wants This, I posted about it. Like, I feel like we're just having such a moment for men that are emotionally stable and available. Like Andrew Garfield is like, I joke, but like basically anyone, we're calling it the grief club. I did call it the Dead Parents Club, and people pointed out that like you can grieve and like other people in your life and still relate to Andrew. But the way he talks about his grief is so refreshing, especially just being a man. And then the way he was like so, I don't know, I'm here for it. Bring on the Adam Brody's and the Andrew Garfields of the world.
Is that your take right now? Is that they're like in a full blown? You believe this conspiracy theory?
I think they're already dating, and that's why some of it when he was like, "It's called flirting, Amelia." Like I think he was kind of like reminding her we're kind of playing a part here. Yeah, I think if they're not, I don't know how long they might have been previously dating, but I think they agreed to this because of like the internet, like wanting it so badly. But I think that this was like kind of their soft launch, not quite officially making it official. I think they're full on dating.
Okay.
Do you, or do you think this is like would possibly lead to the relationship?
I'm leaning towards possibly leading towards a relationship because that's like the rom-com, like Delulu in me of like.
Well, they've had several. I mean, they talked on the interview. They've had several meet cutes. So I mean, there's still a rom-com or already a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm curious to know when they actually filmed this. I feel like the internet needs to like go back and see and like do the math of like the announcement of this breakup. Like I would love.
Well, the second he announced his breakup, the second he announced his breakup, everyone was like the power of Amelia. Like, so this was like immediately went to that. There was a lot of speculation.
But I just hope like the public doesn't like ruin it for him. You know what I mean? Like too much of like a good thing. Like, but I don't think so. I feel like they're both private. He kept saying I'm a private person. I was like, okay, get it, Andrew. But I'm here for it. That's my shout out. I always think, in the world of today, a little light love is all that we need. But we could use some more love from you guys.
Yes. Okay. So Vanessa set a goal of 1,500 reviews. We would like for those all to be positive 5-star reviews. So you guys know the drill. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our podcast, hit 5 stars. If you've got like 30 seconds, leave us a written review. We do read them all and take them all into consideration and make changes accordingly most of the time. So feel free to let us know what you love. If it's something you don't love, you could maybe just send that in an email at realmomsofbravo@gmail.com or a DM. That would be much appreciated. But just go ahead and hit those 5 stars. We promise we'll work on whatever it is feedback you have. And if there's something you love and you want us to do more of it, let us know. And with that, make it a great day or don't. The choice is yours.